Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tom Crawford with the Stix Stuff Podcast in Ellijay, Georgia, on the Crawford in-town ranch out in the courtyard, bringing to you another little of my series, Did You Know? Today in the series of Did You Know, we're going to talk about the Islamization of America and why it's important to you. We'll get into that in just a second. But anyway, on my last podcast, I reported that we had gone over 1 million viewers over the last year. Well, I went back and looked at the numbers, and we've had 1,056,000 viewers since January. So we're going strong, folks. And please go on to the any avenue you like, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, iHeart, Apple, wherever podcasts are shown, you could probably pick up the Stix Stuff Podcast. Become a follower, become a member. That's how we're able to continue that, and with our sponsors. And so we are very, very grateful. And this is a fun little project. I'm not one of these big conglomerates or big companies or TV hosts that has a little podcast on the side. I am one individual, and I've got a cameraman, but it's just a two-man operation, and we have a lot of fun with it. And I enjoy doing these podcasts, and I enjoy bringing things forward that maybe a lot of people haven't thought about in a great deal. But anyway, I'm going to be talking a little bit today about the Islamization of the United States. Now, why does that matter to you? I'll get into that in just a second. But, before we get going, once again, my views are my views alone. They are not, none of my sponsors, they are not their views particularly. So my thoughts on these monologues, it's my statements, my opinion alone, not the opinion of my sponsors. I've got to get that out of the way every time I do one of these little monologues, because I don't want somebody going back to one of my sponsors. Nah. Well, it's my opinion alone, so those people can kind of get over it. I'm not here to step on anybody's toes, but I may tend to do that every now and then. That's not really meant to be. What these little monologues are about is really to get people to open their eyes on what's going on in the country. But before we get started, a little Georgia humor. A police officer pulled me over the other day, and he says, "Sir, you know why we pulled you over?" And I said, "Well, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you." Another one, young guy gets pulled over by the police, says, "Young man, can I see your ID?" He looks at him, he says, "About what?" Now, if you didn't understand that, you're probably not from the South, but that's okay. But anyway, I always like to throw in a little humor. I mean, those are tired old jokes, but they're still funny. So who cares? But anyway, Islamization of the United States. Where did it start? I've got to move my notes a little more forward because I'm blind as a bat, and I want to be able to see them. I don't have a teleprompter. And you may also be saying, "Well, gee whiz, the guy's got a podcast. Where's the little microphone stuck in his face?" That is so tired. And everybody, including mainstay television personalities that happen to go and get their own little podcast, they've always got that little microphone stuck in their face, the little table microphone. That is so outdated, it's crazy. I've got a little lapel pin on here. It's a wireless mic. That's all you need. You don't need one of these little table microphones, halfway obscuring the view of your face. It's just stupid. It's old school. And some people are purists, I guess, and they want wired mics instead of wireless. Well, that's kind of stupid too, because when you go into production, you can EQ it and you can do anything with it you want. So I don't think audio has been a problem whatsoever with any of my podcasts. And I kind of like the wireless way to go, and so that's how we do it. But anyway, I got to puff on this cigar a little bit too, because I hate them going out in the middle of the podcast. See, when you're running a two-man operation, you can't exactly have staff running around doing stuff for you. But that's cool. That's all right. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that these are pieces of the puzzle, and it's real. It's absolutely 100% real. It's not some highfalutin production. Yes, we do edit these after we go into, after we produce this, we have to go in and edit. But the edits are just to make it look good for you. It's not to throw things out and put things in or make things fancy. It's just to show you a podcast the way it should be shown. Well, here goes, folks. Islamization of the United States. How far back did this start? Well, it kind of started before America or the United States became the United States. Way back in the 1500s, you had the Barbary pirates. Who were the Barbary pirates? They were a state-sponsored Muslim pirating organization. Think about that for a minute. All the way back in the 1500s, you had state-sponsored terrorism. That's what it was, folks. I mean, it's crazy. And we're also going to do another full circle here, talking about something else I've been talking about for many, many times, and that's the illegal immigration. Well, the Islamization of the United States and illegal immigration have two things in common, and I'll share that with you as we go on through the podcast. But anyway, Barbary pirates, 1500s. They're, raising hell out on the high seas and plundering all these ships from Europe. And a lot of people didn't realize that besides all the pirating of ships and looting, plummeting, all the stuff they were doing, they captured over 1.5 million Europeans, sent them back into North Africa for the slave trade. Oh, really? The slave trade. So the Muslims were real big in the slave trade. Yes, sirree, they were. Of course, I've got to sit here and be honest. We bought a lot of people back. Yeah, we bought the slaves, We didn't start the slave trade, but by golly, we bought them, and that's a big stain on our country, and it will be forever. But it's been eradicated. So all you 10th generation people that want reparations, I don't know what for. I mean, you weren't a slave. That's my opinion on that, You get up every day just like I do, put your boots on, go to work. I mean, that's how you make something in this country. You're not a victim. Get over it. But anyway, here we go back to they were in the slave trade. They were paying, now get this, ladies and gentlemen, all these European countries were paying the Barbary pirates. They were paying them ransom money or tolls so they could sell their vessels through their waterways. What does that sound like, ladies and gentlemen? Does that sound like something that's going on right now in the Strait of Hormuz? Very, very, very similar. They've been doing it for eons. They've been doing it for decades. And Iran wants to do it again, What's that all about? But anyway, America got their independence, became a nation, and same thing started happening to them. So they said, no, not so fast. We don't play that shit. And we went to war with them. We went to war with them twice. We went to war in between 1801 and 1805, and that was the war in Tripoli. And then we went back to war in 1815 in Algiers, and it pretty well wiped them out, and that ended their piracy of the seas. The French didn't get involved later on and go back to Algiers and take care of it once and for all. Once again, we do the work and the French comes in on the end, takes the credit, just like the French. But that gives you a little back history on that. And also, this whole thing with the Barbary Coast Wars, this is how our U.S. Navy and U.S. Marines came into place. And I think it's just if you've never read up on it, you should. It's a very unique history. It's how our country began to project itself to the world. We got tired of being screwed over by some jackleg little pirate. And it was state-sponsored. What does that sound like? Iran? Somalia? Yemen? Where their main trade is hijacking vessels in Yemen. I mean, it's what these people have been doing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And we put a stop to it once, we should put a stop to it once and for all again. And but that's not what I'm really talking about today. I wanted to give you a back history. Now all these people are coming into our country. They don't assimilate. They don't like our country. They want to bring what they left. Think about that for a minute. They want to bring what they left. And they're coming by the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. They've been coming for years and years. Back in 1965, under Democrat, of course, they changed the immigration laws from quotas from different nationalities and different peoples in different parts of the world to make sure that it was a kind of an even melting pot, and they threw those restrictions out the window. Muslim populations started coming in droves, but they really started coming in under Obama and under Biden. Because of the war in the Mideast, other things, they started giving these blanket yahoos for people to come in. They were also very strategic on where they put them. That's why Minneapolis has a large Muslim population of Somalis. Clarkston, Georgia, and Atlanta, that's why they have a large population of Somalis. Houston, Texas, that's why they have a large population of Muslim people. Dearborn, Michigan, that's why they have a large population. What did I just hear there? Swing states? Oh, how could that be a coincidence? I don't know. Well, maybe that's been the plan all along. Maybe illegal immigration and maybe legal immigration, although it was designed to flood the zone. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's what the Democrats love to do. They love to flood the zone. They like to make it nearly impossible for them to lose. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Dearborn, Michigan. It is over 55% Islamic. How are they going to vote? Well, you know they're going to vote Democrat. That's why they get them to come over here in droves, because they know they're going to vote for free stuff. It's not too hard to understand, folks. I mean, that's what we're dealing with today. People say, well, how does somebody like Zoran Mamdani become mayor of New York City? Well, there's only 750,000 Muslim people in New York City alone. I mean, you don't have to look too hard to find these things. Dearborn, Michigan, there's another little community outside of Dearborn that has even a higher population of Muslims. There are 500,000 Muslims in Houston, Texas alone. So They start out with these little enclaves, these little communities, some large cities. They become a voting bloc so strong that the Democrats heavily go after them, naturally, and they would. And that's how you swing politics, my friends. That's exactly how it's done. The whole time the Republicans have been sitting there on their hands. Duh. And, you know, it's just like they don't ever seem to give a whit or blink an eyelash at all this stuff going on. Some do, but very, very few do. And when I keep telling you as an audience that we are kind of going to hell in a handbasket as a country, I mean, there is a slippery, steady slope of things that have been going on in this country for years and years. Illegal immigration. Immigration that is meant to flood the zone in certain cities. It's all being done and designed by the Democrats to gain control over areas that they once did not have. Look at Texas, for example, is being invaded like you wouldn't believe by the Muslim population. The whole goal of the people that were in power at the time that these people started coming in droves, their whole idea, let's get them in places where it's a swing state or maybe even a red state and change the balance of things. They're just that evil, ladies and gentlemen. They are. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it, you know. Now, I'll have to give them credit. They're smart. They are very smart. Illegal immigration was the single most successful voter registration drive in the entire world. I'm convinced of that. I was convinced of that 30 years ago. I'm convinced with that today. Muslim immigration is the same thing. They're flooding the zone to affect outcomes. But anyway, that's my 2 cents for the day on the podcast of Did You Know? And I just want you to think about these things. And so when you see a little bitty community that you may live in, and you see a mosque going up, and oh, that's nice. Well, we're being assimilated and everything. No, you're not. You're being taken over. You know. So get used to it and beware. But anyway, a little short podcast today. This is Tom Crawford with the Stix Stuff Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed my rant today, but you know, it's just all I'm doing is telling you history and the truth. People don't report it. People don't talk about it enough. People don't put it all together to show you what it actually is and what it's actually doing. But anyway, once again, I'm Tom Crawford with the Stix and Stuff Podcast. And I always say this in my podcast. Be good to yourself. Take care of yourself. Enjoy life. And by golly, do something special for somebody this week. I'm Tom Crawford with the Stix and Stuff Podcast, and we'll see you soon.